fast life meets the fast lane.
Yeah.
You're now tuned into Bars and Hoops Radio. Where the world of hip-hop and sports live.
Dropping the clutch and then I hit the gas. Wheels screeching, tires burning, I'm flying past. Gotta get home quick, don't wanna miss the class. They schooling you on whips and how to make them fast. Talking about everything from cars to planes. What's hot, what's next, and how to flip the game. They talk in my language, we speak the same. That whip talk complex, but yet they keep it plain. From the news, the interviews, they keep it cool. They give reviews, everything from parts to tunes. Can't lose, come to whips, they not no fools. Don't miss the show, the start time is noon. The bearded one, S.I. Sean, they crazy though. You can't miss it, tune in to Rally Radio.
Where the fast life meets the fast lane.
Boop, 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 boop. What's going on, y'all? It's the bearded one here. We back in the building. It has been a rough one. It has definitely been a rough one, but we are here. We are in the building. Shout to everybody tuned in, paying attention. You already know what it is, man. It's the bearded one here. Rally Radio. We are in the building. The start of our new season. The summer, we took a break, and now we are right back to where we started, man. And it looks like a lot was going on during the summer, but shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Don't forget, you can find us Saturdays, YouTube, Rally Radio Podcast. We're on a little bit later than average, but we will be back at 12 noon. We will be back at 12 noon. So shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention, man. We appreciate y'all early. You already know what it is, man. We trying to make it happen one day at a time. But with that being said, man, we're going to jump right in. We got a lot of things going on today, too. There's a lot of car shows going on today. A lot of things going on in the city. We hoping that, everybody will get a chance to really, really, really see. We're going to definitely put some videos, some flicks up, let everybody know what's going on. But with that being said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We are here. We in the building. So with that being said, we're going to jump right in, man. It has definitely been a long time, but we are back. It has definitely been a little while. Let's just talk about that a little bit. So in the midst of us taking our little break, or me taking my little break from the show, just to come back with a different season and come back with something so that we could give people something that they really want to see. I started to see a lot of different things that's going on in the car community. One of them in particular, like I said, how laws are affecting the way that we like to do things to our vehicles, the way we like to tune our vehicles, the way we like to add parts to our vehicles. The laws are changing a lot of that. And it looks like it's swinging, the pendulum is swinging back our way. A lot of it has to do with the feds. Feds are getting involved. It's like now we starting to understand that CARB and feds are two different things. And it's like, what's the CARB? The California Air Resource Board, they're two different things. Them and the feds are two different things now. We starting to find that out, that the laws that CARB put into place are like higher than the federal mandate. And I think the feds themselves have gotten, with this new administration, has gotten tired of that. And they've been changing a lot of things. So prior to that, the administration was pretty much shutting everything down. Listen, if you own a tuning company, they was fining you for tuning cars. They was fining you for making exhaust. They called them, what did they call them at the time? They called them car tricking systems that could trick your check engine light to not come on. They have been changing a lot of that, and a lot of people got fined. A lot of things happened in between that time. So it starts to make you wonder, like, was this going to change? And now you see this new administration in here, and they're knocking a lot of that stuff off. A lot of the things that was considered, oh, you can't do that and you can't have that, they're changing it now. Now you're starting to see the electric vehicles actually disappear. Not really disappear, but a lot of car companies are walking away from them. In particular, we're going to talk about a couple of them today. You have Acura, who's walking away from the ZDX EV. You have Jeep, who's walking away from the Gladiator plug-in hybrid, although they still have other hybrids that they will be running. And you have Ram, who's getting away from the full-size electric pickup, saying that people are not even involved or not even, don't even want to see this. So it's definitely getting interesting out here. We see a lot of things changing. And I will say EVs gave us a peek into the future of how they really want things to run. Right now, this regime that's in the office right now, President Trump and all of his administration that he put in place, they're still trying to keep things kind of where they were, but eventually they're going to move up to these electric vehicles. But it just goes to show They said we didn't get it this time, but we're going to get it the next time. So you can see what's really coming down the pike. It's going to get really, really ugly really fast. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You already know what it is. You can see that a lot of things are coming our way. You can see it. A lot of things are coming our way. I would like to believe that when it comes down to a lot of the different things with this administration, that they're not going to just release or release hold of a lot of these things so quickly, but you can see it. You can see it happening. You can see it happening. And a lot of things have changed. Let's get into the mere fact that now Tesla's being held to standard. That right there is a big deal. And I'm going to tell you why. We've been talking about that a long time, how Tesla, it's like they just been above the law almost. It's like some of the things that some of these cars got to have, they don't got to have. We talked about how Teslas don't have LiDAR. They don't have radar. All they have is cameras. And it's like, that's a big deal. And it seems like it doesn't matter. It didn't matter to anybody else. At first, they was going to loosen some of the laws. I guess when Elon Musk got into it with Trump, it was over with for that. But it definitely, you started to see them being held to standard. And now a lot of things are coming out that we did not even know, or that the public wasn't aware. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of the regulations, the things that they already had in place. For instance, now it's like they want to do the robo taxis, and now the government is like, hold up a minute. Before you do that, we need to make sure that these things are running their own and not kill anybody. And it's like Waymo already has what's needed, but remember, Waymo has LiDAR and radar. I'm telling you, a lot of this is got to do with the fact that, and then we're going to move on, that Tesla had been actually skirting a lot of the laws and just barely like really, really complying with a lot of the things that they have for them in the government. And now it's being put on Front Street. And now with the regulations being rolled back, Tesla is begging the Trump administration not to roll the regulations back, because then they're going to stand to lose billions of dollars, because a lot of the car companies had to pay them for their EV credits in order to keep their companies running. Like Dodge, when they had the Hemi, when they had the V8, they had to pay Tesla to get some of their EV credits so that they wouldn't be fined. It's astronomical how much money they were paying, how much Tesla made off EV credits alone. And we're going to get into all of that. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You already know what it is, man. We appreciate y'all. It's the bearded one. And with that being said, we're going to jump right in to our first little bit of the show. Let's go. This is our weekly specs. Let's get it.
Weekly specs. Auto news for all the listeners, only on Rally Radio.
All right, just to jump in some of our weekly specs, you see we got a lot of things going on right here. But with that being said, the first thing we're going to talk about is Tesla urging Trump administration not to roll back regulations. Now, like I said earlier, the reason they don't want to do this is because they understand that if they roll back the regulations, a lot of these car companies will not need these EV credits, and they will not make a lot of money off these EV credits. Well, let's get into it a little bit. It looks like now Tesla's urged the Trump administration not to roll back emissions regulations after most major automakers have already been pleading for this to change. They made the request for the EPA to ease the looming rules. The request stems from the fact that Tesla will stand to lose billions from selling their regulatory credits to the other automakers in the coming years. Republican Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio said in July that it's outrageous what it costs automakers to pay Tesla to be in compliance with regulations. So when it comes down to being in compliance with them regulations, a lot of that had to do with Tesla actually being fully electric. They don't have any gas cars. So now companies that had gas cars, they had to have a certain amount of electric cars in order to not pay this fine or what they would consider EV regulatory credits. They didn't have any, so they had to pay Tesla to get some. Since 2009, Tesla has made, you ready for this? Tesla has made almost $10 billion off of these credits alone. That's crazy. $10 billion that all of these other car companies had to pay Tesla in order to get the EV regulatory credits from them so that they would not be fined by the United States government. And that is astronomical. So at 10 billion, we can only imagine what this would cost a quarter or yearly. You know what I mean? We talking about how long we talking now? 16 years, almost 16 years, $10 billion. It's like when you look at that, you got to say to yourself, Tesla's definitely not wanting the government to roll back some of their regulatories because they can understand that's a lot of money for a business to lose. And not that Tesla's only a car company. They're not. They actually a tech company that makes cars. But this would definitely hurt them on that side. You can't lose 10 billion and say, you know what, it's nothing to sneeze at. And they saying over the next couple of years. So you just have to wait and see how that plays out. I think that the Trump administration is definitely going to pull the trigger, though. I think they're not even going to hold back. The fact that Elon and Trump wasn't getting along for so long, I think he's yomping at the bits to really get rid of that. So we're going to see how that play out. That's going to be interesting to say, just the least. But also, we got to look into, when it comes to Tesla, does this affect their charging? Because remember, they had the charging across the world, and they were giving people access to superchargers. And what does that do now? Because they was able to give that access because of the relationship they had with the United States. So is that going to change? And this is what I mean. A lot of things are hanging in the balance, at least for the next couple years, until we figure out who's going to be the next president or what's going to be the next administration that we're going to have. It's going to get interesting, man. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You already know what it is. But with that being said, we got to see how this plays out. But in the meantime, there's other things that's been going on out here. It looks like Acura kills off the ZDX EV after only 18 months. Now, that right there is also telling you what people think as far as electric vehicles are concerned. Are they really into them? And you know what? Shout to my man Phil. He always say the people that wanted EVs have them. So if you wanted them, you have them. You can't get mad at nobody else that don't want them. You feel what I'm saying? So now you're seeing they can't sell as many of these things because at the end of the day, not too many people want them. And the Acura ZDX, to me, it wasn't really welcomed. It wasn't really talked about. You didn't see a lot of people driving them on the street. So I guess that's why they just said, you know what, we're just going to get rid of them. And I understand. It's time. You know what? At the end of the day, maybe they could find a cheaper EV supplement or whatever have you, but nobody wants these things. Let's be honest here. So moving on, you got the Jeep Gladiator plug-in hybrid that's dead. And that's another one we was talking about here. So Jeep, in particular, Stellantis, to me, stood the most to lose once they changed into electric vehicles. And we had said this a long time ago. Was this the beginning of the end for Dodge? Dodge at one point was winning. And there was one point where the Charger and the Challenger were the highest selling cars in the United States for like one quarter. They were the highest selling cars. And then they changed it. I don't know what happened as far as they changed their whole setup. They was like, you know what? We're going to go from V8s. We're going to get rid of the V8 and then we're going to go fully electric. And then they took their flagship car and they did that. They took their Charger and then tried to turn it electric. And we see how that played out because now that vehicle is out the pasture too. Now they're going to be bringing out the six-pack, the turbocharged 6, which I personally can't wait to see because at the end of the day, it has all the makings of a great engine. A lot of people are against me on that, but it is what it is. Now, Dodge, like I said, Stellantis as well. Here we go. They're getting rid of the plug-in 4xe Jeep. They also getting rid of their Ram Charger. They're getting rid of that as well. I'm telling you, a lot of these things are happening because people's interest in electric vehicles have really been weaning down to the point where they don't even trust them. A lot of people don't trust them. And like I said, Stellantis had the most to lose. They actually took a gamble and they lost. And now they're trying to make their way back. Shout out to Tim Kuniskis. Tim Kuniskis is back as the CEO of the Dodge Ram side. He's not the CEO of Dodge itself, but just the Ram division. So it's going to be interesting. You see a lot of these things starting to be killed off. So shout out to Tim Kuniskis. You already know. You can see a lot of these things playing out. I love it. But with that being said, shout out to everybody tuned in, paying attention. Don't forget, you can find us Saturdays, YouTube, Rally Radio Podcast. Definitely like to bring some of the news during the week, but we got some other things we're going to be talking about as well. And we definitely going to be covering a lot of the different things that's going on, different automotive happenings, a lot of different things going on. But with that being said, Lexus, this really, well, before we even get into Lexus, it looks like Nissan is also joining the bandwagon. They're killing the EV Aria that they had. Now, Nissan is another one. They stand to lose a lot. It's very tough for them to even talk about they're going to be doing anything with anything right now, because they have to do so much cutting. There was a point where we thought Nissan would be gone inside of 2 years, to the point where Honda was ready to help them out, and a lot of the I believe Japan themselves had actually bailed out Nissan at one point and gave them $30 billion. So it definitely was looking bad for Nissan. So for them to say that they're killing the car, they like, yeah, whatever. They're killing the Aria, which is a fully electric SUV, and they're going to do more to sell the Nissan Leaf. And I think that's better for them. I think that makes the most sense, because if you don't, Nissan could be staring down the barrel right now. They got rid of the GTR. Not that the GTO is bringing in that much more money for them, I could almost say, but they had to kill a lot of their cars off. The Maxima will be gone, which is crazy, but they had to do it. Nissan, I believe they said at one point Nissan had to cut about $90 million across the board in order for them to survive. So you're starting to see a lot of plants shutting down, a lot of people losing their jobs. This is really what's going on when we transition from combustion and gas powered to EV. And then you got to ask yourself, was it worth it? But it's not over yet. So we're going to be able to see what's going on with that. But shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Now, the biggest news to me so far, and this really, this one, it really bothers me. Lexus is killing off the LS. We need a moment of silence for that one. Lexus is killing off the LS. Now, for those that don't know, the Lexus LS was the first Lexus that was sold in America when they first started bringing them here in 1991 or 1990. That was the very first one. They put so much money into research and development for that car, which is why that engine lasts forever. There's a lot of things that they did that a lot of car companies still wouldn't do. They put actually 50 different Lexuses in Alaska when they first was bringing the car over here, just to see how it does in snow. I mean, Toyota really reached with this car. So it's sad to see that it's time for the Lexus LS series to meet its demise. They're going to have, for 2026, they're going to have 250 Heritage Edition Lexus LSs. And after that, it's done. They're going to be done with the Lexus LS, and that really hurts. Earlier this summer or earlier this year, I was actually looking at a 1993 Lexus LS 400 that had about 11,000 miles on it. And I mean, when I say that is no mileage, I mean, it was no mileage. It sat for years. But unfortunately, the stars didn't align for that. But you got to know what kind of car that is. I mean, that V8 in particular, the 1UZ, and those engines last forever. I mean, if you can see what some of these guys are doing with them, even when you go to like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, when you see some of the Toyota 4Runners, you think they running in there. Like, shout to Toyota for actually doing what they got to do and creating a great automobile, man. It really hurts that they're really going to get rid of that car, but you know what? I guess everything comes in seasons, and they got to really think about what they want to do with it. But I got to say, I'm totally knocked down because of that, because I loved, and you know what? At first, the Lexus LS wasn't really a car that I would say that I was like wanted to drive. But the more that I started seeing them, the more it just made me want one. And then knowing that it's a V8, oh man, it's a V8 4-door. We call them land yachts out here. Land yacht. You got to say to yourself, man, it's just something that everybody wanted, or at least that I wanted after a while. So shout to Lexus. I could imagine how much that Heritage Edition is going to cost. They didn't even talk about that. Maybe 100, maybe 120. Who knows what they're going to put in this car, because they know it's going to be the last bit. But it's definitely going to be interesting. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We're going to jump right into our little bit of tech talk right here. And with that being said, you already know what it is. Sit tight. Let's go. Tech talk. Here we go.
It's Tech Talk with Pop the Bearded One.
Let's go. We got Tech Talk now. Now, this is going to be interesting. The GR Corolla software updates. Now, for those that don't know, the GR Corolla has been around, what, about 3 years now, 2023. And now it looks like the 2026 version is going to have so many, like more torque, more horsepower. They're going to have a lot of different upgrades. And the biggest thing was, well, what about those that bought the GR Corolla first? So it looks like what Toyota wants to do, they want to give them they want to do for them, add the software updates and everything to the older GR Corolla. However, they will not be adding it to any car out of the United States. And I feel like that's just such a kick in the back. Like, what are we doing? But it looks like that's what they want to do. They don't want to give the United States versions anything. So it looks like they won't be getting that update. And you know what? A lot of the GR Corolla heads out here are not happy about that. They are definitely letting them know. You know, they are upset. So with that being said, man, it's definitely going down for Toyota. But to get into it just a little bit, the GR Corolla came on strong. You know, it came on real strong. And you know what? It still was one of the hot hatches outside of the Type R. You know, to really hit the United States streets. So definitely was one of those, and it looks like everybody picked it up. They all wanted one, and now it's looking like they're not even going to get the software update. People are not happy about that. They are not happy about that. So we got to see how this plays out. Shout to the GR Corolla Massive. We see y'all out there, man. If they paying attention, don't get upset. Don't be too mad. It is what it is. You know how Toyota do. But I think there's going to be a workaround. There's definitely going to have to be something. Somebody from Japan is going to be like, you know what, I'm gonna sell you my software update. There has to be a way. I don't see this, especially now because it's only a software update that actually gives them, I believe it's 23 more foot-pounds of torque and a little bit more horsepower. There's no way that they are not going to do that. So I just can't believe that they said no for the United States. But I think a lot of that has to do with the CARB regulations, and it also has a lot to do with federal regulations. I think it has a lot to do with that. I believe when those things ease back, Toyota actually do it, because even right now, American-made cars are having trouble selling or even doing certain things in some of these CARB states. And that would definitely, I would have to say, Dodge. The Dodge Durango Hellcat. Let's take that for instance. The Dodge Durango Hellcat is having a tough time because it won't be sold in 17 states. It will not. The Dodge Durango Hellcat and 392 V8 option will not be able to be sold in 17 states that follow CARB. And that's crazy. We talking about an American-made vehicle. The whole point is that American-made vehicles don't really sell the way they should out here, or at least we should buy American-made first. This was them pushing it. And now they're talking about it won't be able to be sold in 17 states. New York being one of the states too. I know you've seen the reel. If you didn't see the reel, just check that out. But at the end of the day, does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. You mean to tell me you cannot sell an American-made car in an American state because of CARB rules? That don't even make sense. That don't even make sense. Shout to everybody tuned in, paying attention. EVs are not going away. Never thought I would say this, but now my gas cars feel clunky and slow. My Tesla has similar performance envelope to a BMW M3, and it's an American car. Shout to VA Speed. I do hear you on that, but at the same time, I don't think Teslas are going anywhere. I think they're still going to be around, but you can't tell me you feel the same kind of performance that you feel in your M3 as you do your Tesla, because even outside of, let's say that let's say it's more snappy because it has an accelerator, not a throttle. But let's say it has an accelerator and you stomp on that accelerator. Yeah, it's there, but what about when you handling that turn at 80, 90? Teslas ain't handling that. They definitely not handling that. I don't know. They sell off like, you know, they're this and that, but at the end of the day, they're not a performance car. I'll tell you that. They are not a performance car. You want to get around with your family, you could do that. But they are American made. Shout to VA Speed. He is right about that. They are American made. But I believe that stops at the batteries. The batteries, I believe, are not made in America, but I could be wrong. Definitely let me know if I'm wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, they're not made in America. The batteries are not made in America. But shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You already know what it is. Shout to VA Speed for tuning in and actually dropping a comment. He said, Teslas do handle well in the track. Researcher, not bone stock, not compared to no M3. That's a lot of weight you throwing around out there. Now, when I did research what was going on as far as Tesla's handling, the fact that the batteries are heavy and they're laid out on the floor does help. But you can't say the braking and everything is the same. I can't see that. The only way I can see that is if you do modify it like you would modify everything else. But an M3 out the box, I don't know if it's competing with that in the turns. But like I said, I could be wrong. But in the meantime, looking at a lot of the things that's going on with these electric vehicles, like I said, a lot of people are stepping away. There are some people that do love them. Me personally, not a fan. Not a fan whatsoever. To me, they feel soulless. I don't know. I just every time I've actually got inside of an electric vehicle, I was just like, nah, this ain't it. I remember even playing Gran Turismo. There's a race where you had to actually drive an electric vehicle, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just drive. Like I don't know, it just didn't really move me any. But like I said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. At the end of the day, it may float their boat, and more power to them. More power to them. It's just you see how a lot of regulations and things are changing. Like I said, as far as the Dodge Challenger Hellcat, and as far as the Dodge Hellcat Durango being sold in 17, not being able to be sold in 17 states. I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. Imagine if they said, yo, you know what, you can't sell a Tesla in some of these other states just because it's electric. Like I think that's real crazy. I really do. I really do. I really do. Shout to VA Speed. He said, check out Model 3 Blue. Low center of gravity is real. Nice talking with you, man. Maybe go drive one, then you'll know. I tell you what, I'll take you up on that. And I know that Tesla performance is not cheap. I know that car is definitely not cheap, or that EV is definitely not cheap. But shout to VA Speed, man. Shout to VA Speed 3. I will say, at the end of the day, the mere fact that we're not selling cars in certain, like you would think we've seen this done in other countries. Or let's say we can't sell a car, we can't have a car from Europe because of the bumpers. The bumpers are not made to take a 35, 40 mile an hour hit or something like that. I've seen stuff like that, but just in other states, just because of the engine that's inside of it. And then it makes you wonder, what if you go to another state to buy that Dodge Durango Hellcat? Can you register it in your state? I don't know. To me, is all of that is definitely up in the air. But shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You already know how we get down, man. We are here in the building, and we're gonna step right into our driver's etiquette, man. We are getting close to the end of our show. Definitely don't want to take up your whole Saturday. Got a lot of things going on out here. Like I said, shout to VA Speed for tuning in. Appreciate you. With that being said, let's get right on to our next little bit of things that we got going on. This is going to be our
Legends of Auto. Real legends never die.
So today, our Legends of Auto is definitely going to be the Lexus LS 400. Like I said, the mere fact that Lexus is killing this car off is saying a lot too. Like it's definitely saying that, you know what, the V8s are like, it's really that, I believe, too. A lot of people couldn't. That was a very expensive car. It got to a point where now that car is what, 90,000, and it's like, I guess, you know, the way things are going now, especially with the finance here in the United States, that is, it's like, are people really buying these cars? You know, and I think that's really what it comes down to too. A lot of people are not buying a lot of these cars. A lot of the younger generation, they don't even fiend to drive cars at all. You know what I mean? So definitely interesting, man. But our Legends of Auto today is going to be the Lexus LS series. This car in particular has changed a lot of our views on land yacht, or even like even a four-door V8 being anything close to performance. When you look at a lot of the cars that it was competing with at that time, nobody thought that they would be able to do that. I.e., you had the BMW 750 IL at that time. And I believe you also had the Mercedes-Benz S500. And I mean, nobody thought that Japan could build a car that could compete with those cars on that level. But the Lexus LS did compete. And like I said, Toyota didn't just bring this car here. They actually did years of research and development just to make sure that this car was going to be ready for the rigors of being here in the United States. From it being hot one season to being freezing cold and snow on the ground the next season. They spent, I want to say, I believe they spent over, I think it was over at that time in 1990, over it was over $10 million for research and development, which now equals to like $100 million. They actually spent a lot of money. And I mean, on everything. They put everything into this car that they could. And they knew that they needed to do it because Lexus was a new brand. And in order to sell, they knew that they had to be better than what they was competing against. And they wasn't for half the price we talking to. At that time, the BMW 750 IL was around 60 grand, 60 some odd $1,000. Now it's like 100,000. It was about that. Even the S500 V12. Whew, a lot of these cars will, and we talking about the Lexus LS going for what, 45, 50? That's a big difference. And it was giving them a lot more. A lot of people felt so. Shout to Lexus, and the Lexus LS is our Legends of Auto for the day, man. It's definitely deserve their kudos. So with that being said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We're going to move right on. We got our hot mods coming up. It looks like Tokyo Extreme Racer. Now, listen, if you love cars, there's a guarantee you're a gamer. Now, this year has definitely been great. Gran Turismo 7. Sony recently came out and said that Gran Turismo 7 has sold 100 million copies since it's been out. And I ain't going to front. I probably got about 5 of them myself. I got not more than 5 because I got every Gran Turismo that ever came out all the way back to PlayStation 1. But you have Forza Horizon 6 that's coming out that's actually putting itself in Japan. Now, I can't lie. The Forza Horizon series started to get a little spooky out there. I really wasn't really seeing it as I should have. Like I was like, started to get real turned off from it. But them going to Japan is gonna make me pick up my Xbox controller again too. You know what I mean? But the biggest news, like I said, is the fact that Tokyo Extreme Racer will be coming out for the PS5. That to me is big. Now, the first time I ever played Tokyo Extreme Racer was the Sega Dreamcast, which was eons ago. Shout out to my homeboy Shy. He actually picked one up. It came out on his birthday. And I mean, from then we was like, wow, man, it really gave us a look at the Shibuya Highway and stuff. And a lot of it was fashioned after that. So we just fell in love with it. We fell in love with the car culture out there too as well, which is why now, to me, the reason they part of the reason that the JDM culture took off the way it did. You actually got a chance to see it. And or at least, even if it was only in a video game. But shout to them, man. Looks like Tokyo Extreme Racer is coming to the PS5. And I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to tell you right now, if it's one game that I probably would sit there and play, it'd definitely be that. I can't wait to see what's going to go on with that. But with that being said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention, man. We appreciate y'all. This is Rally Radio. We in the building, man. We will be back Saturdays, 12 noon. We got a lot more coming for the show, but we got a lot of other things going on as well. It's going to be very interesting out here. Right now, I want to make my way out to Brooklyn Navy Yard. They have a nice car show going on out there. We definitely going to try to get some footage, and we're going to have another car show later on going on tonight. The Honda Collective. I don't think nobody could miss this. And me, I definitely want to drive my Type R out there. I want to see what's going on out there. So with that being said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention, man. We will be back. This was a shortened show, but we definitely wanted to let y'all know that we back for our season and going right back to what we do. So with that being said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Shout out to VA Speed one time. You already know. Shout out to him for actually dropping a comment. I appreciate that. Definitely. And with that being said, until next week, I'm out, man. You know how we get down. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. See y'all later.